Well, hello and welcome to Watch What Crappens, a podcast about all the crap we love to talk about on Ye Old Bravs. I'm Ronnie. That's Ben Mandelker over there. Hello, you handsome little devil.
Hi, you handsome devil yourself. How are you?
Good. What's going on with you today?
Starting a brand new week, fresh start, and it's our first episode of March. So that's exciting. What's going on with you?
Big things happening. Big things. Good. I'm proud to announce I finally finished all 4 books in the Lonesome Dove series. Okay, I know nobody cares about that, but I'm so glad to be done with that because that was a lot of scalping. Okay, it's a lot of skinning people alive, and I feel good that it's done. I'm on to happier things. I'm reading. The next thing I want to read is about hummingbirds. I just need something happy. We're going on tour. Woohoo! We leave for March. This is an exciting time. You ready? Here's your cities: Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Toronto, Charlotte, Atlanta, Washington, and Philly. Following that, we're going to be going to Boston, Detroit, Chicago, Austin, Dallas, and Las Vegas. Get your tickets over at watchwhatcrappens.com. You can also find links for our Patreon over there. And that's where we have video recaps like this one. Hi! And our bonus episodes. Right now, we are covering Traitors over there. So go check us out on Patreon. And that's that. So another huge announcement. Potomac is ending today. And it's going to be the last time we see this exact group of women for a long time because Karen's going to be in prison. And who knows what's happening with Mia? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen with her?
I think walking out of a reunion is probably frowned upon. It's definitely a diva move. I don't know. I'm sure she'll be back, but she will probably receive a reprimand. Maybe she'll be on probation. Maybe she'll get demoted to friend of. I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you think?
I think there was a good chance of her being fired if Karen hadn't been sent to prison. I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think they're going to get rid of her now.
And the thing is, like, they didn't really need her for the rest of the reunion. It was kind of amusing to me how little of an impact it made that she walked out. Like, no one seemed to care. No one was shocked when it was announced that she was gone. It was met with a shrug. So I think that says volumes about your place on the show.
Yeah,
she only had first seat. She only had first seat, by the way, because Karen went to rehab. Like, there's no way that Mia's getting the first seat anyway. So if she's thinking that she's made it in some way, that she's now a star of the show because she has that, she's sorely mistaken.
Yeah, you got to show up to work, especially when you're missing somebody. You can't just all not show up to work. What is this, Southern Charm, where half the cast is just like, I'm tired, and they leave. Mm-hmm. So she leaves crying, and I'd be crying too. She might just be leaving because that dress is so tight. I mean, my God, that thing looks painful. What women have to go through. I mean, I'm considered dressed to the nines today because I have a shirt with a collar on it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm wearing a corset. It's a t-shirt corset. It's a new invention I created.
Now I could pull me and just push my moobs up, and I think that kind of would give me that. But the guy couldn't sit like that all day. It's just too much moob.
Yeah. So she's in her dressing room being like, "Oh, you guys, get me out. Get me out." So then back on the set, Andy has basically alerted them that the husbands will not be coming out on the set because the only husbands who've shown up are Eddie and Greg. There's no need for Eddie on the reunion at this point, as it turns out, and then no one cares about Greg. So they clearly nixed the husband thing, which is funny because Greg was bitching and moaning last episode that he could have been gallivanting around Manhattan and said he had to show up at NBC to shoot a reunion. God forbid.
Yeah, and Kieran's like, "Oh, well, good. Greg can go home. Oh my gosh, I'm about to get wore out the way I dragged Greg up in here." Well, Greg's the one who claims he doesn't want to be on TV, so you just did him a favor. I'm not going to listen to Greg complain about it.
Yeah, I'm not.
So Andy's like, "Well, Stacey, I know you didn't want TJ to come today, and we had invited TJ to come. I really wanted to ask him this very important question: Did you get new boobs, TJ? Can I feel them?"
Yeah. And Stacey's like, "Yes, well, because we're no longer together." And Wendy's like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "Yes, I didn't want him to come." So, well, Eddie is here. And Eddie, as you mentioned earlier, Eddie and TJ talk. And Eddie actually FaceTimed with TJ to see why he's not here. And TJ let Eddie know that you actually paid him to be your love interest on this season. And TJ also told Eddie that you told him not to come. And TJ also said, run him his money because the money is not adding up. And TJ also said, look for him on this week's episode of The Pit. In the background, the nurse that's waving at the camera.
Yeah, so he really did say that. I was shocked that this was the revelation. I'm shocked that I was shocked because everybody has been saying online that this is going to be the revelation, but I was surprised that it was actually that. I thought they were going to kind of wuss out in the end and be like, oh, TJ says he's got a big wiener, and that was going to be the big thing. But apparently, he's accusing her of paying him, which, TJ, you're an under 5 bitch. If someone is paying you, keep your mouth shut and keep getting the money. I don't believe TJ. What do you think?
Yeah. Gosh, it's hard. First of all, I thought it was going to be the birth of a new controversy. I did not think we were going to go back to Kenya and Walter, but we did, and it's fine. TJ, I don't know. Like, I don't believe anything TJ says. I think TJ has more of a motivation to lie than Stacey does. I think TJ was humiliated on TV because everyone made fun of him. He looked like an idiot. He sounded like an idiot. He was an idiot. And I think that TJ also was riding the Stacey train to get onto TV. And then when she said, you know what, I don't think I like you anymore because like I think you're shitty, he realizes his path to fame has been destroyed, and the narcissist that he is, because we all know that he's a narcissist, we can see this, right? He's gonna retaliate, and I think that actually is like, it's totally viable that he's lying and he's just saying, he's gonna say this to clean up his reputation, like everything you saw was fake. I was paid to do all this. I'm actually a different kind of guy. Well, congratulations, you're basically a whore.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of, by the way, I'm like, who brags about being paid to pretend they're somebody's boyfriend? Like, it just makes you even more terrible. And I am with you. I believe that he is not believable. I'm not going to believe TJ. TJ was a piece of shit this whole season, and I'm glad that Stacey makes the point later of like, how are you going to say that guy's a piece of shit the whole time, but now that he says one thing, you all believe him? Like, you're all going to believe him over me.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think TJ's a piece of shit, and I'm not going to start believing him now. I think that he got really upset with looking stupid on TV, but that's his own fault. Nobody edited that. Even if they did, she's not an editor. She's a person on the show who he is treating like shit. So fuck that guy.
And he also shows he's a bad business partner because he now has he's complained. Because, by the way, the season's not over. And I feel like if there was an arrangement, then he should have, like, I'm sure the arrangement, I don't know. Like, I'm going to defend her, even if she did pay him. What I would not be surprised at is if he, being the asshole that he is like, well, I'll come on the show. If she says, I would love it if you come on the show with me. And he's like, well, but you're getting paid to do this. And, like, I'm getting nothing for this. And she says, fine, I'll give you a cut or something like that. Like, I'll throw you something as compensation for your time and your energy. Not like, hey, I'm going to hire you to be my boyfriend. It's like, I'll kick something back at you because you are taking time out of your day. You're not doing auditions. You're shooting a scene with me. I mean, she shouldn't have to do that, but I would not be surprised if she did that.
Which is why she was fair and stuff.
Right, which is why she was hesitant to sort of like call him up, and because she's like, I don't know how he's going to ding me because like there are some gray areas. I would not be surprised if that were the case, but it doesn't matter because even if she does fully pay him, if she has paid him, I'm going to defend her because if she has been paying him, I think that's great because I love that Stacey is playing the role of this woman who is easily clutching her pearls, but then at the same time is doing something ridiculous and shady. I love that. I love that in my Real Housewives.
Well, she was really ready for reality TV if she's going to just immediately pay somebody her first season. That's crazy. But here's the question this leads me to. Whatever happened to whore HIPAA? I mean, when are whores supposed to go tell everybody that they whored with you? I mean, whore HIPAA. We need it in law. I don't know. I mean, I know whoring is illegal, but it shouldn't be. First of all, that's a completely legitimate job. I'd do it if I could. If my boobs stood to attention, I'd be whoring out there right now instead of talking about whoring. But whatever happened to whore HIPAA, I don't like this. And we had the same thing. And this is not a whore, but this is stripper HIPAA, strippa HIPAA. On that Salt Lake City show, when that lady was like, "Oh, you know how all my you know how I have 5 sisters and they're all strippers at this club." Lady. And I know none of you watched it, so I'll explain it. So this lady comes and she's like, "Well, that Mormon comes to the strip club, and my sister has all the receipts to prove." What kind of stripper are you? You got your money? Keep your mouth shut. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't like it. I feel like whenever we take money for stuff like that, we should be quiet. There should be, the Hippocratic oath. Take that.
Now, at first, I was thinking to myself, okay, TJ, well, the reunion has just aired. Are you going to show the receipts? If this happened, where are the receipts? But knowing him, he's probably trying to peddle it into an article for us or people, because that's just what that's what people like him are like. But yeah, you are complicit in this, sir. If she paid you, you accepted the payment as well. Like, just know that. You can get mad at her being like, oh, she begged me to be on the show. You accepted the position, and you accepted the position because you probably had some sort of friendship with her or whatever. And obviously you were shitty because if you did have a friendship with her, that's shitty that you accepted payment from her to be on her show instead of helping her out.
And your role on this show was just as successful as your acting career. You failed. Okay. You failed. You won season wonder. Okay. This is what happens when you give this guy more than 5 lines in an episode.
And now he's going to claim, and now what he's going to do is he's going to say, well, she should be thanking me because of this. I gave her a storyline for next season. You know he's going to do that. He's just
except that she's not going to use him as a story. I mean, the other ladies will, but and then the other ladies, who are they to talk? Yeah. You've got Giselle, who brought Jamal on, pretended she was back with him. Then she's paid at least 2 people. Remember that guy who was getting blowjobs in the park? And then what was the other guy? Giselle's never had a real boyfriend. I mean, who are we fucking kidding? Ashley with Beavis or whatever. Ashley with I don't believe any of these people. And what's the difference? You're using Michael for, I don't know. I didn't like it. I mostly like this lady, and I think she dealt with all of this very well. But I guess we're going to be talking about this for another 2 hours, so we should just go through it. So Kierna, who's never said more than she has in the past 5 minutes, is like, I said this was what happened. Yeah, you and the entire internet were saying it, you know? And so Wendy's like, well, she brought TJ on and she hired TJ and she paid him some money and she still owes him a lot of money. It's a big week for TJ's selling wiener on Bravo.
You owe him back money, for pretending to be a boyfriend. Stacey's like, let me say this right now. Okay, let me say it. And so she's going into she's doing quiet panic. And Giselle's like, oh, so we're pretending. I absolutely do not believe anything that you're saying. TJ would never say that. Which is sort of a funny thing. It's funny that her first response is not, I never paid him. Her first response is, TJ would never say that, right? That I did think was a little strange. I don't know why that's
because like you said, maybe she gave him money for plane tickets and she paid for dinner. That man has no money. So she paid for a lot of stuff with TJ. So she's like, well, what could be considered paying somebody to come on a show,
Exactly. She doesn't want to commit to saying I never paid him. She just wants to commit to saying he would never say that. So now, of course,
but I mean, look, it's the same thing. Like dating an actor is the same thing. And even if you're dating a successful actor, frankly, because they don't want to pay for shit either. I mean, Lisa Rinna's husband works all the time. She don't like to pay for anything, I think that, and that's just a random example I pulled out. But actors do are famous. I guess I pulled it out because of the Sutton thing. He didn't pay for the Elton John Oscar party, but of course she didn't. She's an actor, and actors do not like to pay. It's like if you're dating a podcaster. Let me tell you who's dating me. Anybody who wants to pay for my Old Navy. That's it. I'm not paying for that if I'm dating somebody. You are getting these moves and this wiener. Okay. I need at least your Old Navy super cash.
So Wendy's like, TJ said that to Eddie on FaceTime. Okay, they're gonna run it, baby. They're gonna run it. And Kieran's like, TJ was acting like a being actor. And he's like, control room, do you have that on camera? Did that happen? Hold on, did that happen? So Andy's like, okay, everyone, I just asked the control room, Stacey, if they have that on camera. And apparently it happened while we were here with Mia. She's basically like, it's gonna come. He's like, and I have a feeling they're gonna roll it in 3, 2, 1. And then they all sit there and they're like, what's happening, Andy? He's like, sorry, that was a cue for in the show and you're watching at home.
Oh, well, we are ready to see it, Andy. Yeah. And she's like, show me the tape. Show me the tape. I just don't believe. Another question is, if TJ was being paid, then why was he like being emotionally abusive blatantly on camera? I mean, what kind of employee is that?
Because he's still an actor and he wants attention. So, like, if he is being paid, he's like, excuse me, I read my sides for today and this was not part of the script. Okay, I'm supposed to be by your side. That's what's in the sides all day long at this party. And you left me with Ray to talk about, Commodore 64s. So he's like, that was not cool. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't prepare for that.
Yeah, so they're all demanding that they see it. And he's like, well, the problem is the camera that has the thing in it, the film or whatever, that's shooting Mia. So Thirsty asks Mia, she walks out of the reunion and she's still taking up too much space. She's not even here and she's taking up space. And then we cut to Mia and Mia's like, I'm leaving. They never should have, but I never should have put myself in a position where they could talk about my motherhood. And she's like running all over the room and her poor gay is following her around just trying to undo the straps on that dress. Like the corset or whatever that he spent all morning shoving her into. He had to sit on her like a suitcase to get her into that thing. He was just like, oh, this is how ladies get their suitcases closed. Like Cameron from Real Housewives of Dallas, just like tying that thing.
Yeah, the fact that she was like, she was in that corset and he's sitting there trying to unknot these ties in the back and she's just like walking into a different room and he's having to follow her. I was like, this is the definition of what we gays have to go through sometimes. So, meanwhile, just this is also why they let Mia go. They're like, okay, we're going to let Mia go so we can free up that camera and get that footage.
Yeah, well, they should have just told Mia, we're not following your gay around with his corset strings. Okay, you're done. Like, we're taking the camera back.
They're like, Sue, come over here with an iPhone, film Mia. Okay, we're taking the big camera back into the control room.
It's time for a commercial. It's time for a Crappens commercial.
Exactly. So Wendy is like, you have called this man repeatedly your best friend. He's my best friend. That's not a best friend. Your best friend is not going to lie on you. So he's telling the truth and he says he wants his money. You're in arrears. And so Stacey's like, it doesn't matter how many times you say it, Wendy. You're in arrears. I want to see it. I want to see it. You're in arrears. You're in arrears. She keeps saying you're in arrears. You owe
But
money.
also, I like that Wendy always turns into a lawyer when she's got a point. Like, well, here's my evidence. You said he's your best friend, and a best friend wouldn't lie. You're on Housewives. Best friends lie on you all the time. What are you talking about?
And she does
that does
like
not stand up for me.
She also starts pointing with all 5 of her fingers. She goes, okay. And she like takes her palm and she rotates it a little bit to the right. And then she starts pointing with it. It's like a little fin. I love when she does that.
So Andy's like, you want to call TJ? Call TJ. Andy loves this shit. It's like Andy's favorite thing to happen. And she's like, I absolutely do not want to call TJ. So they all start demanding it and yelling at her like, you better call TJ. And she's like, why would I entertain a lie? So he's like, well, why would she say it? And he's like, everybody hold on. I'm the messy one here right now. You want to call TJ? Let's ask him about his boob job. Come on. And Stacey's like, well, I would love to see the tape because I'm not going to speak on something that I know is a lie.
Well, the control room's not going to lie to me. And Kieran's like, how much did you pay? And okay, hold on. Control room, is there technically a way for us to show this to her? And he's like, no, not at the moment. Later. Okay, great. We're going to tease this out. Because, by the way, they could have just edited this and gone right to it. But they're like, wait a second. we just realized we have our third hour here. So now they're going to give us every beat of this moment.
This is literally the whole hour. So if everybody wants to hear the end, that's how it ends. It's just this for another hour. But I was cracking up the whole time. So all they really need to do, first of all, don't play to Mia's hand anymore. I think they should say, Mia, we've got an old man out here waiting for a steak and a lobster. He's got a couple of hunties in his palm. And just have her come back out, take the shit out the camera, and show me the footage, okay? Stop playing to Mia. It's making me crazy. So they're still going back. It's like, oh my God. Oh, now we see Mia finally walking out. And she's like, how do I get out of here? How do I get out of here? And so she can't find the door. It's like watching Severance. She had to make like a little map, a little map on a napkin.
So Wendy is like, Stacey, stop while you're ahead of it. That's all I'm going to say. Stop. And Giselle's like, you busted legs wide open, honey. So Stacey's like, can I ask a question? Why on earth would I sit here and say, like less than an hour ago, he's one of the best people that I know? And Giselle's like, because it falls in line with everything else. But I say that he's one of the best people that I know because he is. And this was just completely unexpected. It just was not part of the contract that he was ever going to bring this up on camera. That's probably why she doesn't want to call him, because it's like, if she is paying him, it's like, okay, you get X amount per episode. And if she calls him, that means he gets to say this is part of an episode.
So she's like, I stand in my truth. Show me the tape. And they're like, oh, God. And Wendy just goes, the way they're going to roll the tape on you, Stacey. Oh, the way they're going to roll the tape. And so they're like, okay, we'll come up with another story. And they're just all badgering her about it. So Andy asks for Eddie to come out, and they all start chanting, Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. And
bring Eddie out.
So they talk to Karen's picture, and they're like, oh, I know, Karen, you're probably missing this, right? And Karen goes, you've been vindicated, Karen. How does that vindicate Karen? None of this vindicates Karen, but keep trying.
Well, because Karen turned on Stacey in the final two episodes, so that would be the vindication. So Andy's like, all right, here comes Eddie. So Eddie gets first chair because they still haven't bothered to move Wendy and Stacey and Jacqueline down the sofa. So there's been a gap this whole time. So Eddie gets first chair, and everyone's like, Eddie, yay. He's like, all right, Eddie, come have a seat. He's like, whoa, wow, why am I here? He's like, Eddie, have a seat. You seem certainly happy. Ha, ha.
And Wendy's like, Eddie's the first husband in history to get first chair. And Andy's like, no, actually, no, it's not. But nice try. Okay, sit down, Eddie. And so they ask him about this. And he's like, well, he said he wasn't invited. And he said he's never going to be in DC again because someone owes his money. And Stacey's like, who owes him money? He's like, He just gives this look like, you? And she's like, oh, I don't believe it. He's like, yeah, well, he said that she paid him to be here. He said she paid him to be on the reunion or the show. Let's get this specifically, because we're going to make 2 separate phone calls about this later. And he's like, no, I didn't get that level of detail, but he said she paid him.
So Stacey's like, I pay him to be my best friend. And Stacey's like, I owe him money? That's what TJ said to you? He's like, yeah, in a nutshell, basically. And Jacqueline goes, well, that's not very Christian-like.
Okay, Jacqueline.
Which is true, though, because TJ is like purportedly this super Christian. Look, if he's being paid to play a character, then maybe he's not very Christian. But it seems like he is being very Christian, and so that is not very Christian-like. So
but I took this as Jacqueline telling her that's not very Christian-like. I think she was saying it to what's her buns. You know who I mean, Stacey. Mm-hmm. I think she was saying that's not very Christian-like, because Giselle's like, speak on that, Jacqueline. And so Eddie's like, well, I called him because we just wanted to know where he was. It wasn't anything messy at all, which is why we were waiting for the cameras to be there in the men's dressing room when we called him to get this all on camera. Like, I don't necessarily believe him either, So he's like, and we're like, are you there? And he said he's tired of this narrative that was being painted of him being this flamboyant person and listen, you're the person who painted that picture. You're the one who showed up on Watch What Happens Live in your gay pride shirt. Get out of here. No one's painting that picture but you, sir. Okay. If you don't like it, put down the finger paints.
Yeah, you seemed really very happy to take that opportunity to be a bartender. Okay. Mr. Shear. So then Eddie's basically keeps saying that he didn't get the details. So Andy's like, well, did he say she owes him money, or did he say she owes him money for appearing on the show with him? Does he accept Venmo, or is it Zelle? How does this work? And so Eddie's like, I don't know. I don't have any more answers. Okay, all right, I have a question. What kind of shirt was he wearing in the FaceTime? Because that may inflect that. If he has a nice shirt, that shows that he may have money, so we know he's getting paid by. He's like, I don't have any more details. I can't give you any more details about this.
I like that Andy just keeps going. He's like, well, okay. Did you ever loan TJ money for groceries? No? Okay. Did you ever play poker with TJ and possibly not give him his payout? Has TJ ever bought a scratch-off ticket that you bought that maybe was $5 and now there's a just? Well, I'm just for any money. Is there any money that you owe TJ?
When you guys go out to dinner, are you like, we'll split it, but I'll take care of the tip? Is that what we're talking about here? What's the degree here of the payment?
And she's like, I don't owe him any money. I just don't understand what capacity I could owe him money. I mean, I didn't like the relationship because of the pressure, and that's why I got out. So maybe he's upset about that. I just can't imagine him saying this stuff because it's just not true. And I just wholeheartedly don't believe it. And when he's like, oh, you still don't believe it? You still don't believe it? And she's like, it's not true, Wendy.
But why would he lie to Eddie? Because, by the way, guys also lie about shit to protect their fragile egos all the time. Just watch Southern Charm that's currently airing, and you'll see men lying to themselves about reality. So Kiara's basically said, she's like, so you're saying that TJ is lying? And she's like, I'm not saying that Eddie is lying. I'm just saying whatever this is, I don't believe it. I'm saying that TJ is hurt and he's not here and we're not together. And you know who else is not here? Arabella. And she is going to be the one who gets hurt the most.
So Giselle's like, oh, so he's just making stuff up? Yes, that's what pieces of shit little bottom-feeding users do when they are cut off from attention. Look at him getting himself more attention on the TV. Mm-hmm. So Eddie's like, well, you know, I would say it didn't sound like he was upset he wasn't here and you guys aren't together. He was upset because of A, the story that's being painted of him, which again, that's his own fault. And B,
he showed up in that
you know, you were doing dealings with him that he was unhappy with.
Yeah. Well, did he tell you that I paid him to be on the show? Because Andy asked you that question just a moment ago, and your answer was yes. So then Eddie's phone rings, and they're like, oh my God, it's funny. We're going to include every single detail of this. So then Eddie's like, no, I don't. He basically is like, he just told me that you paid him to be on the show. And she goes, well, that's not what you said 5 minutes ago. He's like, 5 minutes ago, I said the exact same thing. He's like, look, I wasn't calling to be messy with him. I was just calling to say, bro, where are you?
Yeah, yeah. So Stacey's like, well, I love Wendy, and out of love for you, I have a certain amount of respect for your husband, even though I really don't understand his sports coat right now. But I just don't know you to be liars. And I don't think you would make things up for clout. But it's just not true. And if TJ is here, I invite him to come here and say them to my face. I'll pay for his plane ticket. And Wendy's like, well, call him right now on FaceTime. And she's like, oh, we are no longer together and I don't owe him a call. So they're like, well, wait a minute. So why would you be okay with him showing up, but you wouldn't be okay with a call? Well, I don't have an unlimited plan. Okay.
No, I call Bill, you know, because like if you're saying that you don't take our word and then the only person who will take is his, and he's like, yeah, why not call him right now? This could be television magic. Call him. And Stacey's like, I am not calling him, but your character's in question. Nah. So, well, that's you. It's like, okay, all right. We're just going to leave it there. Can we all give Eddie Acifo a round of applause? Okay, great, Eddie. Okay. Now, when you go back into your dressing room, here is a Kit Kat wrapper. I've crushed it up into a ball. Could you throw it at Greg's face and say, ha, ha, no TV time for you?
So Wendy's like, yeah, Eddie, whistle down. And he's like, I'm Eddie the whistleblower. So they're applauding him. And Giselle's like, well, he just came and told the truth. And now she's like, well, for the record, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, you know. If you felt like you wanted to get on the show and, you know, you needed a storyline, like who hasn't paid for a storyline or two?
And let me tell you one thing, Ashley Darby. Let me say it so that you can hear me. I didn't need TJ to get on this platform or any person, because I could have been like Karen Huger and just gotten a DUI instead.
And she's like, let me be clear. I don't need an accessory, and I'm not going to say it again. And Giselle's like, nobody believes you. Nobody believes you. And she's like, the world won't believe you either. She's like, I don't care.
Well, you could squash it very quickly if you called him. Call him. She's like, well, I'm sure that I could just call him for everyone's benefit here. They're like, no, it's for your benefit. Listen, I'm just saying that as your friend who loves you, okay, if you come back to this group and you bring up this topic again and you say it never happened or TJ cleared it up, understand none of these women, nobody's going to believe you. And your character and who you are will always be questioned because you had the opportunity cleared up and you didn't take it. And I say that with love. And I'm not bullying you. I'm just reminding you that you're being a total idiot right now on TV.
I stand in my truth. And Andy's like, well, the control room, who can't even seem to wrestle the tape out of Mia's cleavage, is telling me that he did say it. So come on, control room right now. What? Right now? Down the well? Where? Lassie? Where? Okay. Well, they're going to bring it out on my phone. Okay. And I'm going to show it to you. She's like, I stand in my truth. Show me the tape. So also, they bring out the phone.
By the way, just want to say Mia has left the building. Does anyone care? No. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. So
he's like, you want to come over here? She's like, I can't stand up in this dress, Andy, and if I go bend down over you, my boobs are gonna fall all over your face. And he's like, okay, I'll go sit next to you then. Now she's like, what about me? I can't get up either. Well, what about me? Yeah, I can't get up either. It's like no one can move. Andy just has to like scoot them all over to get them in position.
And Andy is so excited because normally he'd be like, can we get someone in here to help her move next to me? Because he's not going to move. But he's like, this is a moment. I'm so excited. I want to sit right next to her. I want to feel her breath on my shoulders as she gasps as she watches this. So he gets right in there, you know? So, and he's like, okay, here we go. Yeah, all right, you ready to watch? Okay. So she's like, okay, well, this is just a shirtless man with a large dick. Who wasn't this guy behind your bar but the other day? Oh, sorry, we're on Grindr. Let me move on to the. Okay, here we go. Here's the video. All right. So we see the.
And meanwhile, Ashley's over there messing with her dress because she's got this big dress with like tinfoil coming out. That girl looks like when when you take food home from a restaurant and it's wrapped in tinfoil and you're like, I'm going to save this for tomorrow. But then you're kind of drunk and you just rip it open and just start binging out of it. That's what Ashley looks like. She looks like a piece of chicken that she couldn't help eating at like 2 a.m. So he shows her the tape and it's, we've seen most of this. And he's like, well, I'm not ever going to be in DC again. She's paying me to do the show, man. And everyone's like, what? And Stacey goes, I didn't hear that. What did he say? And they're like, oh, for Christ's sake. So they have to rewind it so she can really get it through her head that he said it. And he says it again. She's paying me to do the show. Like, come on, you got to talk to that girl. Tell her to give me my money.
Wow. It's also like such a douchey thing to do. Like, it's so like, even if it's true, it's so douchey. And he's also totally like his code switching between bro and like Stacey's boyfriend is so obnoxious. I mean, we all code switch around different people. Like, I definitely act gayer when I'm around the gays. I act a little bit more broy when I'm around bros. People do it with basically different groups. So I get it. People do that. But this code switching between bro and like TJ that we've seen is like, it goes beyond code switching. It just goes into fakery. It is no longer in the realm of code switching. This is just someone who is like putting on a front. And this just reads like a guy who's just trying to impress the bros and trying to be like, yo, fuck that bitch. Am I right, bros? Like, she's fucking paying me, right? Hey, bro, fuck that show. I'm a bro. I'm just like, oh gosh. Just go away forever, TJ.
So TJ's like, she's whack, man. So that's it. So he gets off and Andy's like, wow, he called you whack. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. And Jacqueline goes, oh, wow. So you were calling Mia and me a liar? And they're like, oh, no, you're liars too. Giselle goes, yeah, Mia is a liar. So whatever. That doesn't negate Mia being a liar. Sorry, nice try though. So Stacey's like, what? And Kieran is like, so that's your best friend. And Stacey's like, well, it's one thing to see someone disrespect you and make you question your relationship, but this is hurtful. It's just so very hurtful. That's all I can say. I just can't imagine him saying that this is AI. This is AI.
Sounds like, ma'am. So Andy's like, well, you heard him say it. I absolutely heard him say that. And I can't believe that my ears are betraying me in this way. I have to see a doctor because there's just no way he would ever say it. So it's at this point, it's my eardrums.
So she's like, I can't believe someone who prides themselves on being a man of God and being honest and someone I think loves me even if we're not together to say that. I've never paid him a dime and I've never owed him anything. And Ashley, meanwhile, is like, do you think she uses Cash App or Zelle, Venmo? I mean, what is it? And Stacey's like, I'm hurt. So he's like, okay, well, did you say if you come shoot with me, I'll pay your expenses? And she's like, I've never paid him. It's just not true. It's just not true. Well, for the record, can I just say, you can feel how you want to feel. And I'm sorry you're going through it. But most importantly, my husband did not lie. And I was like, Wendy, this is not about Eddie. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I always got to clear my husband's name. You know what I mean? She's like, well, I just feel like the rug has been pulled out from under me. I don't even know what to say. And, well, so is TJ going to have any Venmo, Zelle receipts? Because once he puts those on Instagram, especially once this airs, what's going to happen? And everyone's like, yeah, the receipts are coming. She's like, but I never paid him in any capacity. Oh, really? Have you promised to pay him? Never. So is he going to have text messages, babe? They're all kind of like, hey, we've been down this path before. This is your first time, but we know you're taking a stance now. But there will be receipts that come back to hit you if you're lying. So this is your chance to get ahead of it.
It's like, why is he doing this to you? And why would he call you whack? That's just so mean. Andy. And he's like, yeah, it is mean. I just don't get it. And, let me tell you this. Hurt people.
Everyone's like,
and so Kieran is like, oh, please shut up. This is bullshit. You need to stop. And so Stacey, this is when Stacey brings up her, listen, you all had doubts about TJ and you speak very poorly of him. But now when he gives you something salacious to use against me, suddenly he's like the pinnacle of truth. So what the fuck? And you're going to believe him over me. And he goes, oh, I thought you were going to say you guys were right about TJ. I mean, don't you think this is the moment we could have Stacey apologize to the... No, she doesn't owe them anything. I think they're being monsters. I think this lady at least is owed the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I mean, she is. I mean, even if she winds up, lying, she is owed the benefit of the doubt over TJ. It is, and it was funny because I think we all thought she was going to say, you guys were always coming down on TJ. And in the end, it turns out you were right. He is a piece of shit. We all thought that's what she was going to say, but instead it was, it wasn't wrong what she said, saying you guys all came down on him. But then, when it's his word versus mine, you take his side. It's also an equally fair thing to say. So Stacey's just saying like, I can't clear up something I can't make sense of. So anyway, we go to a flashback of Wendy just trying to, again, hammer it through her head that if you say nothing happened, like, we're going to think you're a liar. Something does happen, so like, this is like your chance. She's like, look, I do not look crazy and I can't clear up something that I can't explain. I can't explain this. So he's like,
so they're like, call him. She goes, I absolutely will be calling him with my attorney. And they're like, oh, geez, come on now.
Commercials. Here comes one right now.
Now it's the next segment, and Kieran is like, yeah, these crystals are eating my ass up. Everyone is dressed so uncomfortably. So then he's asking Stacey what the best-selling item is that she ever sold on QVC. And she's like, jeans, because I was wearing them. And he's like, yeah, really? And she goes, well, the only other thing I ever sold was a beard. Those went pretty well because I use those as well. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Did I say that? It's just not true.
All right. Well, earlier this year, a car accident and a DUI arrest left Karen injured and Potomac shaken. And while Karen was tight-lipped about her ongoing legal situation, she was very open to putting other people's business on blast. Ha ha. Well, guess what? Now she's been found guilty of drunk driving, and instead of answering for her behavior today, she went to a recovery center, which we all support, even though she's totally not answering for her behavior. But we totally support the recovery center. Just had to say that part once again.
So it's the Karen's drunk segment again, because we've already had this segment, but let's do it again. Why not? So Giselle's saying that she was just shocked. And then we see a clip of her and Karen at lunch. And Giselle's saying, well, you're going to go to court at some point, or did you already go to court? And she goes, well, you can read the newspapers, Lost Magazine, New York Times, whatever you like. I'm in all of them. And she's like, well, I'm not trying to be messy. And then the waiter comes over and he's like, this woman, Karen, has never had a drink here, ever. We also don't have a liquor license, but still.
The tally-ho waiter. The character witness from Tally-ho. So we see so we see like this lengthy segment, because they're basically like, look, we edited together this segment and we're going to air it even if Karen's not here. Okay. We're going to make sure that this happens, because it is very, very lengthy. Like, I'm actually scrolling through quite a bit. It really
is. I'm scrolling through it right now. Like, damn.
Okay. Back to
they go through this.
All right. Well, Karen's case is now closed and the verdict has been decided as of this taping. Her sentencing won't be known for another few weeks. But while Karen isn't here, there's still a lot of questions that viewers had that should be discussed. So, for instance, Graham from Cracker said, we saw Karen deny having a drinking problem and abstaining from drinking on camera, but has her drinking been alluded to hasn't it been alluded to through a lot of series? Has anyone here seen this side of Karen? What I'm trying to say is she an alcoholic? Can you back me up?
They're all like, yes, Karen's a drunk. Everybody knows, anyone with a TV knows this. And he's like, well, but do you think that she had a drinking problem, or do you think that she has a drinking problem? Those are your choices, okay? So basically, I think he's saying, do you think she had one or that she has one? And she's like, well,
or you've seen this before, like
yeah. Ashley's like, well, she uses alcohol to cope with some of her difficulties, which is not a drinking problem, okay? That's like seeing a hole in your wall and putting spackle in it, okay? It's just doing what needs to be done.
Sure.
So they're like, yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, Jacqueline, you received the most anger from Karen because you referenced her drinking. And we see, Jacqueline getting it. How did you feel after watching this back? She goes, thank you for finally asking me a question. I've been on this sofa for about an episode and a half. So to be very crystal clear, I mean, I don't want to be too heavy with this, so I guess I'll be crystal light. Mia threw me under the bus and talked about our private conversation. So this is really Mia's fault why Karen was mad at me.
So
and
ridiculous.
They're like, okay, come on, Jacqueline. You did say it, though.
Yeah, she's like, well, I said it to Giselle. So then we see the clip of her telling the whole party, well, she called me and she was a little litty. And so Jacqueline's like, well, I wasn't being malicious. And then she dragged me the entire season over that one little piece of conversation. I was just out of concern. So I agree that Karen went too hard on her for that. But listen, an alcoholic is not going to like you talking about their alcoholism, okay? Until they say they're an alcoholic, and then that's all they want to talk about, okay? Once you say, I'm an alcoholic, then you never shut the fuck up about it for the rest of your life, okay? But we're not there yet. So then...
Well, yeah. And also Karen was like, oh, I found someone who could be my punching bag. I can make this this could be who I can deflect onto the whole season, too.
Right. So she's like, I wasn't being malicious. And Giselle says, yeah, but her problem was she was supposed to be going to court during filming and all of this stuff could have been used against her. And so that's why she was pissed. So Wendy's like, Giselle, I would agree with you, but we know that Karen continuously pushed her court case back. And I found that odd because I would have rather gone to court before the show aired. Well, she was doing that so you guys couldn't use it against her on camera the whole time. I think.
Also, it's clear that Karen had terrible legal counsel. Let's not overlook that part, which is about to be discussed very shortly.
Yeah. So then we talk about the balloons, Jacqueline bringing the balloons, and she wasn't being shady. She was just there in peace, which is, of course, bullshit. And she's like, well, initially, it was because she came after my child's father. Oh, Lord.
And then it was like, but then at first I came there to be shady, but then it actually became a beautiful thing. He's like, okay, wait, so you were trying to be shady? She's like, no, it was gonna be a lovely moment. So we see a flashback of that, and she says, well, I felt like that was really dirty work of Karen. However, I switched things up. I wanted it to be positive. All right. But by the way, did she wind up suing you for ruining the environment? Now that's a court case I would like to see on TV.
This is why they can't fire Karen no matter what. That shit's hilarious. So then he's like, okay, we're going to move on. You're boring. So, Kierna, you've been a close Karen ally. Do you regret defending her? And she's like, well, I have a social work clinic with Greg, and so it would have been nice if she had just come to that. Would you stop trying to plug? What do you guys get out of this social work company? Like, how much money are you making that you need to plug it this much?
She was
Is it
ready
like
to
premium
Karen
social work? Like, we're going to come
Yeah.
take the children, but we're going to do it wearing a suit, and we're going to feed them very nice fruit roll-ups in the car. Like, what is this white glove fucking social work staff?
She's like, a real friend would have helped me promote my social work. She should have entered our 12-step program. I had a polo shirt ready for her, a free polo shirt for Karen Huger.
So Andy's like, okay, well, why do you guys all think Karen decided to take this case to trial?
And Ashley's like,
Well, I mean, Karen had terrible legal counsel. I say that as someone who's been in a 5-year divorce from Michael Darby and was actually married to him in the first place. Someone who takes terrible advice. And I say this, but knowing that footage was out there, who would advise that you take a public trial?
And Stacey says, well, maybe she didn't remember what happened. Show me the tape. And they're thinking that's the first time she saw it. And Wendy's like, well, weeks ago, it was reported that head counsel asked for the footage. So they had the footage. And I'm with Wendy on this one because I don't believe that there's a piece of footage on Earth that Karen is in that Karen is not going to watch. I think that she would be like, you've got more footage of me? Oh, it's the drunk driving episode. Let's watch it. I look amazing during that. Can we use a little bit of clip of that? Get the Thomas Jefferson's concubine and let's just use that clip for Instagram. I look amazing. Hashtag home goods, just in case.
it's literally like Faye Dunaway on that voicemail where she was like yelling at the reporter for writing a bad profile of her in the New York Times or something. She's like, what about me? I was in Jaws 45. I was excellent at that. I mean, that's Karen Huger is basically like Bravo's version of Faye Dunaway. It's not an exact quote, but
Faye put away. So Giselle's like, well, it's delusion. She pushed it and she didn't want to take any deal. And Andy goes, what? She was offered a deal? And she was offered 2 deals. And Giselle heard that it was 6 months house arrest or 60 days jail. And Andy's like, I want to take in house arrest. I love my house.
Everyone's like, yeah, how could you not take that? Wendy's like, I would bedazzle my little ankle bracelet in style. And she'd probably make all her kids wear like a matching ankle bracelet because that's what she does. So Giselle's like, well, now her lawyer did not tell me this. I just want to put that out there. I did not hear from the lawyer. I want that out there, but I just heard it credibly through someone named Shmarena. And he's like, all right, well, something that probably didn't age too well for Karen was when she said clankety clank. And as proof that it didn't age well, let's play that. Wah! So we see Karen.
So we see the clankety clank, bitch, clankety clank. And so he's like, vindication, Ashley? And Ashley's like, well, of course, I did think about that in my mind, but, nothing's great. But one of the things I wanted to ask her here today, and, maybe I should talk to her picture. Hi, picture. So one of the journalists told me that, okay, so she's saying that there had been a person driving the car or in the car with Karen who was actually driving the vehicle. This is what a journalist told her. And so we see the body cam footage and Karen does say that in the footage. She's like, well, Ray, this is the security that you got me and that's your fault, Ray, because they actually fled the scene, which I think was Karen just lying then to get herself out of it.
Yes.
Don't you?
Yeah, so then Ashley says she got called by a journalist. Diane Sawyer called up and was like, hey, we heard there was another man in the car. And so Ashley's thinking, like, this is interesting because it's like, now a journalist heard this too. But where do you think the journalist heard it from? Karen, probably. Like, this doesn't validate anything.
So Andy's like, okay, all right, well, that's fun. Fast Casual from Culver City said, the biggest mystery is, where was Karen before the accident? She said she was getting drinks with her girlfriends, but no girlfriends came forward and testified. So Giselle's like, says that she thinks that Karen was at a restaurant 4 minutes from the house. And, Andy's like, God, but it's so easy to get an Uber. It's so easy. And so Wendy's like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything.
No,
don't ask
please
me
don't ask me anymore. I will not say a thing. I'm a good person and I will not say this thing. And so they're like, wow, Wendy's strong, huh? So Andy's like, okay, well, we're going to leave it there. Jacqueline, thank you for the nothing that you bring to this show. Please leave. And she's like, bye, everybody. I'm not a liar. You're a liar. Okay, welcome back. We're going to wrap things up. Just kidding. It's going to be another 45 minutes of this episode. But we want to show a scene that Karen shot. It's extremely important and very personal. Let's roll the tape of Karen. And Stacey's like, show me the footage.
Wait, real quickly, before we press play, Stacey, you want to call DJ? No? Thought I'd try. Hey, Stacey.
All right, let's play the footage.
I'm a man, and I'm sick of bullshit. 'Cause I'm a man who's sick of bullshit.
I'm sorry, that was Dr. Greg from Married to Medicine's new single, I'm a Man and I'm Sick of Bullshit. Can we roll the proper footage, please?
So,
did you watch that last night, Married to Medicine?
I didn't know. I have not watched it yet. Was he singing?
So Greg,
tell me he wasn't singing.
Greg started a fight with Quad's new boyfriend on their vacation, and the boyfriend came running after Greg to beat him up. But they separated him. He never touched Greg. But Greg still filed a police report against this guy to try and get him to go to jail. And they're like, Greg, it's not battery if he didn't touch you. He's like,
well, there's a law that's called thinking of battery. And so they got me on, I'm going to get him on thinking of battery, and he's going to go to prison. And you guys, I'm very sad about it. And so I did something. I got creative. And I wrote a song.
He shows the as he whips out his phone, and he's written a song, and he's like,
I'm a man, and I'm under stress, and I'm sick of bullshit. I'm sick of the bullshit.
How is this guy a psychologist or a psychiatrist? He has such small dick energy. I mean, the fact again that he challenged the NFL player to a push-up contest. I mean, he's been the worst since the beginning of that show. And he is. We did a song. Also, do laws about assault? Do laws about assault and battery even qualify if it happened in a foreign country? Because they were in a foreign country, right? Aren't they in the Bahamas or Jamaica? They're in the Caribbean. So. They're not in America. You can't press charges about an assault that happened in a different country. I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong, especially when the assault didn't happen. Come on, Dr. Gregory. Jeez, that guy is the worst.
He is the worst.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it because I was watching the Oscars.
He assaulted me.
I was watching the Oscars.
What a loser.
And so I did not have time to watch Married to Medicine last night before
I was watching Real Quality Music or Real Quality Creativity, which is Dr. Greg singing his song. So that shit was funny. So anyway, we see this scene that Karen shot, and it's the same day probably that she shot her other thing. She looks like the same glam. She's like glam to the nines, like, here I am just reading in bed. I'm reading a book on Wick.
Yes.
It's called John Wick. So many Wicks. He's only got 4, so I've got him beat.
And Ray's like, oh, you actually look pretty good. She's like, oh, thank you. You're very funny. And she's like, well, you look better than you probably feel at the moment, right? That was the line I was trying to feed you. Oh, yes. Well, I look good to cover how badly I feel. Thank you, Ray, for reminding me what my line was supposed to be. Well, he's like, well, it is what it is. I think, dots are being connected for me. I didn't watch the tapes before the trial, and I'm realizing that if you watch tapes, you can see dots. And if you see dots, you can see lines. And if you see lines, you don't cross them and you don't wind up across a median. So it all makes sense to me now.
So yeah, she's first getting out there that she's never seen this tape. And Giselle's like, I don't believe that. And Ray's like, I didn't watch the tape either. Well, then you fucking both deserve to go to jail. Who has evidence that they're like, who cares? So I might be going to prison. Who needs to look at the evidence? Who cares?
And honestly, I can understand if she doesn't want to see it. It's too embarrassing for her, but I think that he should have watched it. He should have been like, okay, it's too uncomfortable for her. I'm going to watch as someone who cares about the protection of my wife and her future. I am going to watch it. He's like an executive, or he was an executive. He should be able to handle this. So
he watched it too. He watched it too. She just told. I mean, are you kidding? Ray's going to watch that. It's like Ray's. If it was a film, it would be called Almost, Free. The story of
it's
how
like
Ray almost gets to go to Florida.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want you to watch it because I know you would have told me about it. So I'm just sitting there in the courtroom and I finally have to watch it because I kept saying, well, surely they made a mistake, right? Because everything's not connecting for me. And I watched it. I'm telling you, I don't recognize that woman. She is beautiful. My goodness, have you seen a hotter woman on screen? Triple 20 up there. Very good. Great work, ma'am.
But I'll tell you this, as the credits rolled, one thing I thought to myself was, where's the applause? That was an amazing performance, whoever that woman was. Amazing. No one applauded me, Ray. Not one. And then I knew the tides were turning.
When I finally sat down and watched footage of that night and I saw a younger version of me crawl out of my back and have a great time out there in Los Angeles, I thought, that was pretty good. Little gross, but pretty good. Like, I think you're mixing up the substance with your DUI video. Well, so be it.
Well, it helped me to see it because I blacked out before the impact, Ray. So according to David's testimony, when I hit the tree, I was already blacked out.
And he's like, but they were doing construction on the road. Ray, stop enabling her. You are the worst enabler I've ever heard. This is like beyond it. It's enablement. Just stop coming up with fucking excuses.
You had no idea that they had built a median and changed the road 90 degrees.
That's right. Even in my blacked out state, I would have gotten home safely had they kept the road going straight.
But so Karen's like, well, yes, I mean, there's new construction, but you know what? It's my fault. I take full accountability for this thing that I didn't do. And I need to tell you something. Self-medicating is one thing, but I started doing that 7 years ago when mom and dad died. And so when I started drinking and started taking antidepressants in alcohol form, it was fine. It would help. But then I needed more and more. And as life kept on lifing, and so instead of going back to the doctor, I adjusted my medication. So it's not my fault. It's medicine's fault. Thank you.
Yeah, she starts this whole like, oh yeah, I started taking antidepressants, but then I needed more and more antidepressants. That is not how antidepressants work. This is such bullshit. You've never heard of anybody overdosing on their Prozac. It's just not true. It's not true. Now, maybe mixing them with alcohol can be ugly, but you should know that if you've been on these for 7 years, then you should know not to be mixing them with alcohol. So she's like, well, I opened a beer, but I said, I don't want beer. So I had a champagne, which is nothing. It's basically water. But I had forgotten that I'd taken the medication, even though I've been overdosing on it for 7 years now. I'm like, Karen, just stop. It doesn't make it any better if you took too much medication and drove. It's still driving under the influence. And this is your 4th fucking time, lady. Just stop. Oh my God.
Well, this is what she's trying to say is this. Okay, I drove drunk. I admit I drove drunk, but I don't want to say I have a drinking problem because when I get out of jail, I still want to drink.
Yeah,
so
I have a Prozac
I'm just gonna say it was the meds, so that way I'm not committed on camera to saying that I have a drinking problem, and then people will get on me when I drink a martini. I'm just gonna say it was the meds, and that way I can have fun when I get back, and I will take Ubers the rest of the way.
And she's like, well, I never drink and drive. No, he doesn't know that because her next thing is, you and I have an agreement, right? I have a driver. So many rumors because I have a driver. You know that. He goes, yeah, that's interesting part because they got into that whole blue eyes thing because you have a driver that has blue eyes, right? You guys, you're really trying to cover your ass for all of the seasons in a row. This is not going to work. And then we cut to the ladies reacting and Giselle's like, oh my God, I can't. And Ashley's like,
covering all the bases here.
So then Ray's like, people don't realize that I want you to have drivers. I mean, when you got a DUI, when was that again? 13 years ago, so long ago. We basically shouldn't even consider it anymore. And that's when we said no more drinking and driving. And I guess you feel especially bad about it now that you've been there and done that. You learned a lesson. And they're like, oh my God. Like, no.
And also, I know that I've already said this in this recap, but Karen, it turns out she not only got that one years ago, she also had 2 others that were expunged. or not put on her
Yeah.
record or whatever. Apparently this is the fourth. So this is crazy. So
You know what's
Giselle's
also funny, by the way?
Hmm.
I just want to say what's really funny is that like at the beginning of the reunion when Karen did her video, they were like pretending to cry. They feel so bad for Karen. And they're like, this is so good. It's so good that she's finally doing this, because they can't say, okay, this is bullshit. She's just trying to get out of being at the reunion. Like they kind of get there. But at first they're like, we're really happy for Karen. But now they're just like, okay, fuck this bitch. She's fake. She's not taking accountability. This all is like a PR stunt, right? Like they finally, like their true feelings about this entire situation have finally come out.
And I don't blame them, because this is too much. I mean, it's bad enough to do your whole thing at the beginning, your whole speech at the beginning. But now to have this where you're just like, let's shoot a scene of me in full glam where I'm taking responsibility for nothing and blaming meds that a ton of people are on because of they need them. And I'm going to try and villainize, meds instead, which is just ridiculous.
And she
And
goes,
not
"What
fucking blue
happened to me?"
eyes.
She's like, what happened to me? I don't want that to ever happen to me again.
I'm like, it didn't happen to you. You did it. This was not something that wasn't like a tree fell down on your car and sent you across that median. You drove drunk.
Ray's like, well, before you beat yourself up too bad, and he pulls out like a big pie chart on a poster board. He's like, did you know that there are 6 million car crashes every year in the United States, and 97,000 people addicted to peanuts? What are we going to do about it?
Yes, but how many of them were self-medicated and drive? What happened to me was self-inflicted. I drove. I had that accident. I put people in danger. I'm going away. Not court-ordered. I'm doing this for me. It wasn't my fault that someone... It was my fault. It was my fault that I did this. It's my fault that I let someone self-medicate me. And unfortunately, these are the consequences of me allowing someone else to do this to me.
I will be going to a wellness clinic and getting facials for 48 hours to show America that I care. So he's like, that is just beautiful. That is beautiful. So is this place okay for the Grand Dame? And she's like, listen, I was Karen Hugo before the Grand Dame, and I'm going to retire the Grand Dame, and I'm going to be just Karen. That's me, just Karen, because Karen is enough. Well, with maybe a couple of blue cheese stuffed olives in it. Ray, please stop.
So Angie's like, all right, thoughts, everyone. And now she's like, well, I mean, they covered all the bases. I said, what did you see? Well, like Ashley said, they were trying to cover all the points that they think we're going to question. That wasn't accountability, not to me. I don't know what that was. You need to scrap that. Take that out. Do her some favors.
That was so funny to me. And he was like, but it looked like she was trying to accept responsibility. They're like, oh, please. Until she started talking about not even drinking a beer. And someone's like, oh, what about the beers in the car? There were like open beers found in the car. He's like, oh, God, okay. So Giselle's like, were you drinking? Yes or no? He's like, okay. So Ashley goes, well, I was on the train here and I was sitting next to this guy and I told him I was on the show. And he said, oh, I'm going to Google it. So he Googles it and he's like, oh, I know this lady. I used to go to this restaurant in the mall and she'd be wasted there every single day.
He said it was the legal seafood. Karen would go to legal seafood and get wasted. That is the funniest thing I ever heard. Just her sitting there in front of the chocolate volcano cake they have and just like getting wasted on some sort of like crab martini.
Yeah. So she's like, it turns out that was Karen. And this was before the unfortunate passing of her parents. And Wendy's like, well, that's what I was going to say. But when I said that I wasn't going to say anything, remember? And then you guys were supposed to keep asking me, but you stopped asking me. Well, that's what I was going to say is I also go to a place for lunch. And whenever I go in there, the waiter says, do you know Karen Hugo? She's drunk every day here. Okay. Can we could just go back to whore HIPAA? Waiter HIPAA. What is everybody just... What kind of waiter are you? You're serving her the booze. You don't get to serve somebody the booze and then call them an alcoholic every day. I don't know. Can we just drink in peace anymore? For fuck's sake. This is why people drink at home now. You bunch of fucking traitors.
Well, this legal seafood waiter has clearly, left the service industry behind, and he's going to tell all. Like he is like the Kitty Carlisle, whatever her name was, who would write the tell-all books. He's like everything you wanted to know about legal seafood, but we're too afraid to ask.
So they're still talking about how she didn't watch the footage. Nobody believes that. And
Kitty Carlisle's an opera singer. I just want to say.
But I
she
know
was a
who you
real
mean.
Kitty Carlisle. What was
It's
her
like
name?
Kitty Carson or Kitty. Yeah, I know who you mean. It's an old school reference, but yeah, I remember that one.
Is Kitty Kelly.
Kitty Kelly.
Kitty Kelly. Didn't she wrote some book that everyone a book about Nancy
It was
Reagan,
about Reagan or something. You're really reaching back in the vault for that one. Kitty Kelly. So he's like, well, but if she was about to go to jail, if she had watched the footage, then why would she go to trial? Because she thought it was going to be thrown out. Karen's delusional. She was probably just like, oh, well, they can't use that, right? You say they're going to throw it out? Okay, good. Get it thrown out. Thanks, Ted. Thanks.
What we know for sure is that her legal counsel knows because they submitted an appeal to have that footage thrown away. It's like, well, at her sentencing is just in a few weeks. How do we think this is going to pan out for her? Do you think it's going to be funny? Is it going to be sexy? Will the judge have new boobs? We need to know the answers.
Judge, objection. Two new boobs.
Judge,
so
did Stacey pay you to do this case? So
they talk
like,
about her
know.
sentencing, and Giselle's like, well, you can't wear your wig in jail, and she's 60, and to be going to jail at 60, that is a problem. And I don't see that going well at all. And Kieran is like, yeah, I don't want to envision that. All she had to do was wear one of our polos one day at lunch. Free social work for life.
Someone messaged us and said, last week we were saying that she's going to go to like a Martha Stewart kind of thing, Camp Cupcake, or where Teresa Giudice went. But those were like for federal crimes. And Karen is actually going to be going to county jail, which is much rougher. And it's going to be a doozy for her. That's for sure. I mean, she's already there. Karen Huger's in jail right now. It's wild.
Crazy. So then they talk about how Wendy and Giselle are friends now, and it's wrapping it up. Stacey, you had a great season until it ended. So where are you going to go here with TJ? She's like, I don't go anywhere with TJ. I lost my best friend tonight, but I'll rise and I'll be all right. And Giselle goes, Maya Angelou, leave Maya Angelou alone. Just leave her alone. Nah.
Yeah. Still I rise. She goes, you'll see. And Andy goes, well, speaking of Maya Angelou, we lost Mia Angelou earlier tonight. And everyone's like, oh God, like don't put Maya and Mia together. So Giselle's like, well, I think it's whack, just like TJ called Stacey. And I think, Wendy said, we've all done nonsense and craziness and we all come to the arena and we all deal with it and you don't run out. Not only do you not run out, you run out the building.
So Ashley's like,
but she also stood on business, no contrition, no apologies. And so, now we're sitting here on the couch and everyone's had their opinion. All of a sudden, it's a very different Mia, the way she tears up.
And so, they're all talking about how Mia's so full of shit. And Wendy's like, well, I was trying to say earlier, you had this time to course correct and you did not, So, and Giselle goes, and she gone. And she gone. So Wendy goes, can I just say something? The very first season, I clocked Mia. I clocked her. I'm like, oh, geez.
They're like, yeah, but like she's the easiest clock. Like that's like walking into a Swatch store and being like, I think there's watches in here. It's like, yeah, she's easy to clock. So yeah. Ashley's like, so we see flashback to that, etc. And so now Stacey's like, Wendy always knew. All right. Well, listen, it's been quite a year of ups and downs, trials, and tribulations. But I stand by the fact that this group has come a long way and it was an incredible season. Blah, 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 blah. It's over. And Giselle's like, oh,
so let's take a shot.
Good.
Let's take a shot before we're done. Today, out of respect for Karen, we're not going to have alcohol. I've passed everyone entire bottles of Prozac to swallow. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. So on the screen, we see February 26th, 2025. Karen was sentenced to 2 years in prison with 1 year suspended. She was immediately taken to prison to start her sentence.
Yeah, they didn't even hand out some sort of like gag or like Panama hats or whatever, like anything. So yeah, that was it. The last hour was kind of a goofy hour. I actually kind of liked how kind of freewheeling and sort of silly and stupid it was. But yeah, it was done. I'm honestly, I'm happy with this season. I think it was a good, like it showed, this show still has a lot of life left in it after last year's like tragic, terrible season. I think overall the season was very entertaining, despite like a lull in the middle. And I'm excited for next year.
I think they had a good start, a good end, a terrible in between, and a good reunion. So I hope they can keep the good of it and keep it going next season, because I still love this show. And I'm excited for Atlanta, which starts next week, which means our coverage also starts next week. So join us for that. And we will talk to you next time. If you want videos or traders recaps, any of that stuff, links to our tickets for our private show, go on over to watchwhatcrappens.com and Patreon and all that good stuff. We'll talk to you next time, guys. Love ya.
Bye.
Watch What Crappens would like to thank its premium sponsors.
Ain't no thing like Allison King.
Our way is the Amber way.
It's the Foster and the Furious. It's Amanda Foster.
It's Always Automatic with Ashley Auto.
Ashley Savoni, she don't take no baloney.
Put your hands together for Carly Clapp.
Catherine DiBernardo has our hardo.
Get on the right foot with Chrissy Offutt. Dana C. Dana Do.
We never miss her call. It's Diane Call.
Erin McNicholas, she don't miss no trickolas. Jamie, she has no last namey. You'll never hide from Heidi Eleanor Jones.
I go, you go, we all go for Hugo.
Hava Nagila Weber.
We could all learn from Jennifer Kearns.
She's our kind of mess. It's Jennifer Messer.
Sip some scotch with Jessica Trotch.
Knock, knock, knocking on Katie Manock's door.
She's our favorite streamer, Caroline Peacock.
Kristen the Piston Anderson.
Get a bee in your bonnet with Lacey B.
Rigging the funk, it's Leslie Plunkett.
She gets a name from us. It's Lindsay D.
Let's give a kisserino to Lisa Lino.
Fresh as a daisy, it's Maisie McHenry. We love her on the rocks. It's Melissa Cox.
Megan Berg. You can't have a burger without the Berg.
This is Livin' with Michelle Vivian.
I love ya, Olivia Williamson. Tastier than Flanderson, it's Rachel Manderson.
She sure is swell. It's Raquel.
Yes, we canna. It's Savannah.
Cast a spell with Shannon Spellman.
Let's share with Sharon Eldridge.
The Bay Area Betches.
And our super premium sponsors.
She's VVIP, it's Amanda V.
Somebody get us 10 cc's of Betsy MD.
She's got a leg up. It's Beth Ani.
We're taking the gold with Brenda Silva.
Let's get real with Caitlin O'Neill.
Don't get salty with Christine Pepper. Can't have a meal without the Emily Sides.
Who, what, why, where, and Gwen Pentland.
It's our queen, it's Queen Laifa.
Nobody holds a candle to Jamie Kendall.
Know your worth with Jason Kurth.
We got our wish, it's Jen Plish.
She's not harsh. She's Jill Hirsch.
She's a little bit loony. Junie. My favorite Murdo, Karen McMurdo. We love him madly, it's Kyle Pod Shadley.
We're ride or die for Lisa Ryder Barron.
She's a whiz, it's Liz Sarthy.
Always killing it, it's Lola Alkalani.
The incredible edible Matthews sisters.
She eases our woes, it's Melissa St. Rose.
Give him hell, Miss Noel.
She's the queen bee. It's Sarah Lemke.
Shannon, out of a cannon, Anthony. Let's take off with Tamla Plain.
She ain't no shrinking Violet Kuchar. We love you guys.